Hey there, today we're going to look at the AL68 from Yunzii. It's a tri-mode, all-aluminum mechanical keyboard that comes in between $90 to $110. And honestly, I'm kind of curious if it lives up to that price point. So, I think we need to unbox it, dive into it, hear how it sounds, and talk about it. So let's get started. So, first thing you're met with when you dive into the box is your quick start guide. This contains handy information like your function keys as well as how to connect the keyboard to the computer. It's pretty handy, so don't just throw this away before reviewing it. Next up is your full-size manual. This contains a more in-depth guide on all the components of your keyboard. Also pretty handy, make sure you review it before you ever decide to get rid of it, or just tuck it back in the box. Next up, we have additional keycaps. We have an accent key as well as Apple-specific keys, so we can change out our Window and Alt for Control Option Command, which is a really nice touch. So if you main either Mac or Windows, you can set up the keyboard accordingly. Next up, there was also 2 additional switches included, which is always a nice touch. We do appreciate an extra switch just in case. Additionally, there's a combination keycap and switch puller since the keyboard is mechanical and hot swappable, so this is a nice inclusion, although combo pullers aren't my favorite. Lastly, in your accessories box is your USB-C cable. It's a standard affair, nothing special, just a plain USB-C cable. Now let's get to the keyboard. And here it is, the AL68 in all of its glory. It's all aluminum 65% tri-mode mechanical keyboard with a knob. You retain your arrow keys because it's 65%, and honestly I can't live without them these days. Overall, the aesthetic is super clean. It's very appealing and very eye-catching out of the box. It's really a style that I go to a lot. If we flip it to the back, the styling continues. It's very minimalist and really clean. We have a nice peel on the back to reveal the mirrored weight. And honestly, really pretty. Now, you'll also notice there's no adjustable feet back here. It is a solid typing angle, but it does have nice rubber feet so it doesn't slide around. Now, another note is the mirrored weight is a fingerprint magnet, so keep your fingers away from it because it fingerprints and smears extremely easily. But overall, it's a beautiful keyboard. Like, the back of this keyboard is really nice. Now we flip our front bezel, we can see we have our mode selector for our wirelesses and our wired mode. We have our dongle for our 2.4, and we have our USB-C port. Another note is the bezel has an overhang on it. So if you're into like really big USB-C cables or like custom cables, there might be some interference here. I did test it, however, with about 10 different USB-C cables I had, and none of them had any interference. But previously I've had cables that had really large USB-C connectors, and I could see that being a problem here. But other than that, the keyboard is really beautiful, and it feels really solid. It comes in at 2.6 pounds, so it's on the heavier side. It's gasket mounted, but it doesn't have a lot of flex. I really like a solid feeling keyboard, but also I know people really like bounce. But that's to each their own. But I think we need to dive into it more to see what we're really working with, so the first thing we're going to do is go ahead and take off one of the keycaps. Now these are double shot PVT keycaps. They have color that goes edge to edge. I don't see any chipping or warping, and overall they feel okay. They are a cherry profile, so they're standard, but I do see a problem. And that's the font itself. Now, the font on the escape key seems smaller than the font on your alphas, which is really interesting. So let's go ahead and pull off the one key and we'll compare it. Now looking closely, we can definitely see that it looks larger. Now for most people, I don't know if it would be a problem, but for me at a $100 price point, I would really like to see all of my keycaps to have a cohesive theme and font size. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Let me know in the comments below what you think. Next up, we're going to go ahead and pull out a switch. Now these are the Cocoa Cream switches. They're the V2s. They're from Yunzii. They're a linear switch, comes in at 50 grams. They're pre-lubed. They are a 5-pin. They have a polycarbonate top housing. They have a PA66 bottom housing, and then they have a palm stem. Overall, they are kind of loud. They produce a bit of a clacky sound in this keyboard, but they are enjoyable to type on. I really like a 50 gram range for my linear switches, so for me, they're kind of right in the sweet spot. But let me know what you think when we get to the typing portion. Now next up, I think it's time to disassemble an entire keyboard. So let's go ahead and grab our buckets and get to work. Okay, we have our keycaps off and our switches out. First thing we're going to do is going to check our stabilizers. Now the stabilizers are pre-lubed, confirming here. When I was first playing with it out of the box, they didn't feel very rattly, which was really nice to see and hear. And confirming here, they're definitely stable inside the keyboard. They don't have any wobble at all, which is pretty cool. I really like when you have a nice fitting stabilizer. It's always a nice touch, and I definitely love that they're pre-lubed, although I wouldn't expect anything less at a $100 price point. So, with that said, it's time to continue diving in. So the first thing we're going to do is make sure we don't have any screws on the top side, which verifying here, we don't see any, so we're going to have to flip it over to the back. Now here, once we're on the back side, you'll see that we have 6 total screws going around the outer perimeter of the keyboard. Now these aren't Phillips or flathead, they are indeed Allen, and they are very small, like 1.5mm Allen key small. Now note, this is an Allen key from my own set, because to take these 6 screws out, they didn't come with an Allen key. I don't understand this. At a $100 price point and a target for more enthusiast keyboard builders, we need to weigh into the keyboard. And while keyboards that are half this price come with pry tools and pry bars, we're not including an Allen key to get these small screws out. So I think this is a miss. Granted, I had my own set, but I would like it to come with one. But regardless, we've now got them all out. We can flip over the keyboard and we can now just lift off the top of the case. And it comes off extremely easily. Now I did try to bend it with some force here, and it's really solid. Like, surprisingly solid. But we'll set that aside for a moment, and we'll focus on our PCB and our plate. Now, judging by the rotary knob on the right, and where the USB-C connector is, we're going to rotate this away from us. So remember, you don't want to do this quickly, you want to make sure that we don't mess up any connections here. So just flip it away from you and you'll see your one connection. We have our 2 batteries at the bottom, but we won't need to move those at all. So we'll just simply take out our connector here. It can be pretty tight in there, so I just gently wiggle it back and forth until it pops out. Remember, don't rush this either because you don't want to damage that. Now we have our PCB and our plate out, and we can dive into this. Now the first thing I'll notice is that there's a film that's adhered to the PCB foam, which is also adhered to another piece of film that's adhered to the PCB. So it's almost like a foam that's already tape modded that's adhered to the PCB. And in like a previous video, the adhesive isn't like a glue. It's more like a tape, but it doesn't leave behind residue and it doesn't rip or tear. This is awesome. I like a combination of where like a tape mod is already adhered to the foam. Like, this is really cool. And it's really easy to take off. It's also really easy to put back on. So there was no problem taking this off or putting it back on, and I opened this keyboard several times. So that's pretty cool. But now we have it off, we can see what we're working with on the back, we can see all of our hot swap sockets, and we can see that we have some screws. These screws hold our plate on, so we're going to need to grab a screwdriver and take those screws out. And there's quite a few of them actually. So we'll just grab a screwdriver and we'll get to unscrewing so we can separate our plate. Another note that these were just regular screws, so it didn't have any specific bit and they weren't overly small, which was nice. Now we have our screws out, we can separate our plate from our PCB. This was really easy to do, and I'm glad there was no additional post that I had to pop out after taking screws out. Once we lift our plate out, we can see that we have a polycarbonate flex cut plate with gasket mounts. It's a really interesting choice because the keyboard really doesn't have any flex or bounce when you're typing, but it's definitely there and set up to have it. So overall, kind of an interesting choice. But setting that aside, underneath that we have our switch foam. It's your standard affair. It's a nice dense foam that'll aid in the sound and feel of your typing experience. And underneath that, you have your switch pad and film. Now you actually don't see the film until you flip over the pad. You can separate it if you don't want to run one of these or both of these. They aren't stuck together or anything like that. They're just lined up really well. But yeah, as you can see here, they're not really stuck together in sense of like an adhesive, just cut at the same time, I assume. But Overall, nice touch. I like running switch pad, foam, and film. I think it really brings out good sound into keyboards, but again, that's personal preference, to each their own. But that's what it comes with. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the case. In the bottom of the case, you have your daughter board, and then you have two 3000 mAh batteries, giving you a total of 6000 mAh batteries. That's 36 hours of use with RGB, and about 4 days of use without RGB. I used mine for 3 days with no RGB on without any issues. We also checked the flexibility of the bottom of the case, and let me tell you, it's solid. It's extremely heavy, and it's definitely solid. There's no flex or anything like that, and I also found it interesting that there's no additional side rails here. It's definitely an open chassis design, which I found rather interesting. So along with our screw holes here, we can see all of our mounting points for our gaskets, and that's pretty much it. That sums up the bottom of the case. And with that, I think it's time we go set up VIA, and then we give the keyboard a listen. So let's go do that. So we've head over to the Yunzii website. We're going to the software section under software, and then we'll go to the AL68. And this, I would like to note, is a big highlight because this we have to explain so many times. Let's download the JSON file first, make sure the keyboard is connected to computer in wired mode and outputs normally, and then go to the design page to upload the file and customize it. Now, this is just a short blurb, but it makes a world of difference because so many people get lost on figuring out the JSON and VIA connection. So we download the JSON file by simply clicking on the link. It'll download a zip folder. Make sure you go unzip that. After you unzip that, we'll head over to the VIA website. You'll click on that. It'll say use via.app. We'll go and verify if you have a design tab. If you don't have a design tab, you'll go to settings. You'll see show design tab. Make sure that's checked on. And then you'll see the paintbrush at the top. Go to the design tab, hit load definitions. You're going to load the JSON you just downloaded from the website. Double click on it. It loads directly to the site. If it doesn't pop up immediately, go to shown keyboard definitions and select the AL68. Once you do that, you're all set to go. You're ready to start customizing. So we'll head back up to configure. We'll authorize the device. We'll connect it. And here you are. Now you're at the customization and you can configure the keyboard any way you want. For example, if we look at the top, we have a bunch of different layers. Here you can program every layer to be something different if you want. So say you do one layer on photo editing, another layer on video editing, or gaming layer. You can do all that here. Also, to assign different keys, you simply just select the key you want to change and then you select the corresponding thing you want to change it to. You can choose between basic, media, macro, layers, special, lighting, and custom. You can also record your own macros and import them and put them on a key as well. You can also save and load layouts. So if you have a layout you actually love and you want to load it to a different keyboard or anything like that, you can save it here. If you have a previous layout you like, you can load it here. And last, you have all of your lighting. So there's a bunch of lighting already built into the keyboard. You can select it here right on the fly and it updates everything without having to save or export any files. It's super simple and super easy. Here you can also adjust your effect speed and your brightness and colors. And like I said before, anything you select here you can see on the fly by simply just looking at the keyboard. This sums up your VIA experience. I definitely prefer VIA over having dedicated third-party software, and I wish every keyboard and keyboard manufacturer would offer this. So big shout out for Yunzii. Thank you for making it VIA and QMK compatible. And with that, I think it's time to give the keyboard a listen, and I'll give you my final thoughts after using the keyboard for a while. So, what are my final thoughts of the Yunzii AL68? Well, starting with the good, I really like this keyboard aesthetically. I think it's beautiful. I really like the minimalist design. I like the backside where it has the plate and the little mountains. I love that there's no product tags or call out information on the board itself. I think it's wonderful. It's my preferred style of keyboard, and I really like that. I also like a 65% keyboard a lot. I like the sound that it comes with out of the box. I don't think I need to mod it or anything like that to be really happy with the way it is right out of the box when I purchase it. Overall, the RGB is very vibrant. It's really nice. I do like that, even if I don't really focus on RGB. Also, VIA and QMK is a game changer. That's what I expect all my keyboards to come with, and I love that we don't have third-party software. Lastly, I enjoyed that the switches were pre-lubed and that the stabilizers were pre-lubed and they were nice and tight in the plate. Overall, I think it's a wonderful keyboard. It definitely does feel like a $100 keyboard, but there are some things that I would like to take note of that I wasn't a big fan of, starting with the keycaps. Overall, the quality of the keycaps was okay, but I don't like that the fonts don't seem to match. I want my alphas to match my modifiers, but the font doesn't really look the same. Whether it's a size thing or actually two different fonts, I'm not sure, but overall, it feels like they're from two different sets just put in one keyboard. So moving forward, I would just like to see more attention to detail put into the keycap selection. Now another thing I didn't like, there was no tool to actually get into the keyboard. And when targeting keyboard enthusiasts, I think it's important to have a tool for keyboard enthusiasts to mod their keyboards, knowing that's what we do a lot. I mean, why include a keycap and switch puller and not a way to get into the keyboard? Even brands that are half this price and have plastic keyboards are starting to include shims and pry tools because they know that we open them and mod them. So I think this was kind of a missed target. And going forward, I would love to see the inclusion of an Allen key or a small screwdriver. And then lastly, a bit of a personal note is I would love to see a nice USB-C cable come with it. Having a plain Jane cable is fine, but there's a lot of other companies that are stepping up and including custom coil cables and custom colored cables that are included with their keyboards. So I would definitely like to see Yunzii step up as well and start offering those with their more premium keyboards, with specifically targeting keyboard enthusiasts. But overall, the AL68 has been great. I used it on several different devices from Mac, Windows, my iPad, and it performed flawlessly. It was wonderful. The keyboard feels good and it sounds good. And overall, I really like it. But let me know your thoughts. What do you like about it? What don't you like about it? And if you're still here, I just want to say thank you for watching. If you could drop a like and hit subscribe, it would mean the world to me. And if you want to check out the AL68 for yourself, I'll leave a link to it in the description box below. But that's it, the end. Thanks for watching, and remember, keep keyboarding.